In the bustling city of Eldridge, where skyscrapers pierced the clouds like ambitious dreams, lived a young man named Alex. At 25, he felt like a ship adrift in a stormy sea, full of potential but battered by waves of doubt and failure. Alex worked as a junior graphic designer in a mid-tier ad agency, but his designs were often critiqued as uninspired or lacking edge. He dreamed of creating art that moved people, yet every attempt left him staring at a blank canvas, paralyzed by the fear of not being good enough. His personal life mirrored this stagnation. Relationships fizzled out because he couldn't commit to growth, and his fitness goals evaporated after a few gym sessions. "Why can't I get better at anything?" he'd mutter to himself in the mirror, his reflection offering no answers. One rainy afternoon, while scrolling through social media in his cramped apartment, Alex stumbled upon an old video of his grandfather, Elias, who had passed away years ago. Elias was a self-made inventor, starting from nothing in a small village and building a company that revolutionized simple household gadgets. The video showed him in his workshop, tinkering with wires and prototypes, his face lit with unyielding determination. "Improvement isn't about talent," Elias said in the clip, his voice gravelly with age. "It's about the system you build around your efforts." Those words hit Alex like a thunderclap. What system? He pondered. That night, unable to sleep, Alex decided to dig deeper into his grandfather's life. He rummaged through dusty boxes in the attic of his parents' house the next day, uncovering journals filled with Elias's handwritten notes on personal development. The journals weren't just ramblings, they were a blueprint. Elias had outlined a philosophy he called the forge, a metaphor for shaping oneself like a blacksmith shapes metal through heat, hammering, and cooling. It wasn't magic or innate genius, it was deliberate, repeatable steps anyone could follow to improve at anything. Alex devoured the pages, realizing this could be the life-changing path he needed. But theories alone wouldn't suffice. He resolved to test it on himself, starting with his design skills, then expanding to other areas of his life. Little did he know, this journey would transform him from a drifting soul into a force of purposeful evolution. The first principle Elias emphasized was, embrace the beginner's mind. Alex had always hated feeling incompetent, which is why he avoided new challenges. But Elias wrote, every master was once a fool who kept going. To improve at anything, one must shed the ego that demands instant perfection. Alex applied this by signing up for an online course in advanced digital illustration, something he'd shied away from before. On day one, his sketches looked like a child's doodles, awkward lines, poor composition. Instead of quitting, he reminded himself of the beginner's mind. He practiced daily, not judging the output but focusing on the process. Weeks in, he noticed subtle shifts, his hand steadier, his understanding of color theory deepening. This mindset spilled over. At the gym, he stopped comparing himself to buff regulars and celebrated small wins, like completing a full set without gasping for air. Next came deliberate practice, the hammer in Elias's forge. Random effort wasn't enough, it had to be targeted. Elias referenced studies from psychologists like Anders Ericsson, who coined the term, explaining that top performers don't just repeat tasks, they break them into components, focus on weaknesses, and seek feedback. Alex mapped out his design weaknesses: composition, typography, and conceptual ideation. He set aside 2 hours daily for drills, redesigning famous logos with flaws intentionally. Introduced, then fixing them. He joined online forums where peers critiqued his work brutally but constructively. It stung at first, but each piece of feedback was a strike refining his skills. In relationships, he applied the same. After a date gone awry, he'd journal what went wrong, maybe he talked too much about himself, and practice active listening in conversations with friends. As Alex progressed, he encountered plateaus, those frustrating stalls where improvement seemed impossible. Elias's journals addressed this with the power of variation. Monotony breeds stagnation. To break through, introduce novelty. For design, Alex experimented with unfamiliar tools like 3D modeling software, blending it with his 2D work to create hybrid pieces that stood out. At work, his boss noticed the fresh ideas, assigning him a lead role on a campaign. In fitness, he switched from weights to yoga, discovering flexibility enhanced his strength training. Variation kept things exciting, preventing burnout. He even applied it to cooking, a skill he'd neglected, by trying recipes from different cultures each week. Soon, his meals weren't just edible, they were flavorful adventures that impressed dates. But improvement demanded more than technique. it required mental resilience, the heat of the forge. Elias shared stories of his own failures, a gadget prototype that exploded in an investor meeting, costing him funding. Instead of crumbling, he viewed setbacks as data, failure as feedback, he wrote. Alex internalized this during a pitch where his design was rejected harshly. Tears welled up in the conference room, but he breathed deeply, analyzed the critiques, and revised overnight. The next version won acclaim. To build resilience, he adopted daily meditation, starting with 5 minutes of mindfulness to quiet the inner critic. Over time, this mental fortitude helped in personal trials, like mending a strained friendship by owning his part in the conflict without defensiveness. Elias stressed the role of environment as the anvil supporting the forging process. Surroundings shape behavior subtly but powerfully. Alex audited his space. His apartment was cluttered, distractions everywhere, endless notifications, junk food within reach. He redesigned it for productivity, a clean desk with only design tools, plants for calm, and apps blocked during work hours. He curated his social circle too, seeking mentors and peers who inspired growth rather than complacency. Joining a local artists collective provided accountability. Weekly meetups where members shared progress kept him motivated. In health, he stocked his fridge with nutritious options and partnered with a workout buddy, turning solitary struggles into shared victories. As months passed, Alex delved into compounding habits, Elias's secret to long-term mastery. Small, consistent actions accumulate like interest in a bank. Elias calculated that improving 1% daily leads to 37 times better in a year. Alex tracked habits with a simple app: design practice, reading industry books, exercise. He linked them, post-workout protein shake while reviewing designs, to create chains. This compounding extended to learning languages. He aimed for 10 new words daily in Spanish, and by year's end, he could hold basic conversations. Relationships benefited. Daily compliments to his partner built emotional intimacy, turning a budding romance into something profound. Yet, no journey is linear. Alex hit a wall when overambition led to exhaustion. Elias's journals warned of this with balanced recovery, the cooling phase in forging to prevent brittleness. Rest wasn't laziness, it was essential. Alex scheduled downtime, walks in the park without his phone, hobbies like playing guitar purely for joy. Sleep became sacred, 8 hours nightly, no screens an hour before bed. This recovery amplified his efforts. Post-rest designs flowed with creativity he hadn't accessed before. In career, he negotiated flexible hours, allowing recharge without guilt. Inspired by his progress, Alex shared Elias's principles with friends. 1. Sarah, a struggling writer, adopted them. She embraced beginner's mind by writing without self-editing, practiced deliberately on plot structures, varied genres to spark ideas, built resilience against rejections, optimized her writing nook, compounded word counts daily, and recovered with reading for pleasure. Within 6 months, she published her first short story. Seeing this ripple effect, Alex realized improvement wasn't solitary, it could uplift communities. Deepening his exploration, Alex tackled intrinsic motivation, the fuel of the forge. Elias cautioned against external rewards alone, they fade. True drive comes from within, tying efforts to personal values. For Alex, design wasn't just a job, it was expressing emotions visually to connect with others. He reframed tasks. Not, must finish this project, but, how can this piece touch someone's heart? This shift made practice enjoyable, sustaining him through tough days. In fitness, he linked exercise to feeling alive and capable, not vanity. Relationships flourished as he focused on genuine connection over superficial approval. Elias's final principle was lifelong adaptation. Improvement isn't a destination, the world evolves, so must we. Elias pivoted his inventions with technology's advance, from mechanical to digital gadgets. Alex applied this by staying current, attending design conferences, learning AI tools for art. When his agency faced layoffs, he adapted by freelancing, using his honed skills to secure clients. Personally, as life threw curveballs, a family illness, he adapted habits to include caregiving without derailing growth. By year's end, Alex was unrecognizable. His designs graced billboards, earning promotions. He ran a half marathon, spoke conversational Spanish, and nurtured a loving relationship. But the real change was internal. Confidence born from competence, joy from progress. He compiled Elias's journals into a digital archive, sharing snippets online. Responses flooded in, People from all walks applying the forge to music, business, parenting. One story stood out. Maria, a single mother improving at budgeting. She embraced beginner's mind with finance apps, practiced tracking expenses deliberately, varied saving strategies, built resilience against impulse buys, optimized her home for financial reminders, compounded small deposits, recovered with family fun nights, fueled by motivation for her kids' future, and adapted to economic shifts. Her debt vanished, security grew. Another. Tom, an aspiring chef. Plateaus in culinary school frustrated him until variation, fusing cuisines, unlocked creativity. Resilience turned kitchen disasters into lessons. His restaurant dream neared reality. These stories wove into a tapestry, showing the forge's universality. Improvement at anything wasn't reserved for prodigies, it was accessible through systematic, heartfelt effort. Alex often visited Elias's grave, whispering thanks. "You changed my life," he'd say, "and now, everyone's." The rain that once symbolized his gloom now nourished growth, a reminder that with the right forge, anyone could shape their destiny.